This is Groovy Lady Thing. Wax's podcast, talking mad shit about uninteresting facts. Wax's podcast, listen to it every Wednesday or Tuesday or whenever the fuck he decides to record it.
Yes. That was my man Groovy Lee Thing with his version of the Wax's podcast jingle. What's up, y'all? Happy Wednesday. Happy freaking Wednesday. It is episode 143 of Wax's podcast. Like I said, that was Groovy Lee Thing with his version of the podcast jingle. I have so many listener-created podcast jingles now that I have a folder on my desktop called Podcast Jingles. Let me tell you something. It is a large folder. There's a lot of megabytes worth of computer information in that folder. It is stuffed. It is packed. There is so much computer information on that folder that if you looked at it physically, you wouldn't even need a microscope to look at it. Isn't that, I guess that, I don't know how much physical space is in a megabyte or a gigabyte or whatever. I don't really know anything about that. The actual hardware components of a file storage. I don't know. I don't know much about that, but I will tell you this. I have been busy. I've had a busy week. I'm working on a new album. My album is called Bah. That's what the name of my next album is. Listen to the last podcast for clarification on that. But I've been working every fucking night. Me and my boy Davey making some heat. Doing Acoustic Monday. Every Monday on my YouTube and Facebook page. This coming Monday will be the third video. Putting out a video of a new acoustic song. Most of which will be on the album. Bah. It's the bitch ass acoustic album. AKA Bah. Most of these songs, like for example, last week I played a song called When I Am Gone. Facebook.com/wax.com or YouTube.com/wax. That's YouTube.com/wax and herbal tea. Can also be gotten to just by going to YouTube.com/wax. But every time I write it like that, I feel like I'm slighting my brother. I feel like I'm slighting him. When in reality, I'm really just trying to make it easier for people to understand. And why the fuck would you want to type in 20 characters or whatever? We can just type in 3. But the point is that song When I Am Gone will be on my album. But the version that you heard me playing in my backyard is the stripped down version. The version on the album will have a bridge, new lyrics, a guest verse, and a crazy ending. It's going to be fucking awesome. I'm really excited for this album. I'm not fucking constraining myself in any way to this album, on this album. Just having fun. Me and Davey are just having fun. We got 2 of the songs we did on this fucking album are so fucking sick. So fucking sick. Yeah. I really feel like shit is working out how it should right now. Being busy is good. I posted last week. This summer, just like last summer, I'm doing the old online garage sale. waxesgarage.bigcartel.com. Check it out. I sold out. I can't believe how well these garage sales do. One of the reasons I wanted to do it this year is really just because it was so popular last year and I had all this shit. I got Cookout Chronicles CDs and the posters are sold out. And it's a real blessing. What cats may not know is that this is really I'm really doing a lot of shit myself right now. I might need to hire some help coming up here shortly. I'm really being with the exception of a couple of my homies. I mean, with the music shit, my boy Davey's producing my album, but when like last year I had some help, but this year on the garage sale, I'm packing that shit up myself. And you might be like, "Oh, cry me a fucking river," and I would probably say that to myself too. But I'm just saying, it just takes a while. I really want like if you order something from me, I feel like it should be like within a day it should be sent. But the fact is, it just takes it takes so long for me to pack all this shit up. It takes longer than that. So I think I'm going to try to find a friend to help me tomorrow and just catch up with all the fucking orders. But yeah, I'm doing that. I'm doing the Acoustic Monday. I'm working on my album. Me and my brother are working on a EP with a producer homie of ours, Lack of Afro, that that we've been working on for many years. Me and Davey are about to drop our 80s project, Caviar. That's what it's called, Caviar with 2 V's. I don't know exactly when it's coming out, but like within the next like month. Might release it on the 4th of July. But we're going to have a video for the first single, which is sick. And I don't know, I really feel like things are working out like they should. Speaking of that, all right, anybody who's been listening to this podcast for the past 3 months or so knows that probably in February, something like that, I had a lot. I tried to get you guys, and tons of you guys did. I had you fill out a survey. It was a survey asking about who you are, but asking you about your demographic. The reason I did this was because I have enough downloads to start doing like advertising on my podcast. So I was like, yeah, why wouldn't I want to make some fucking money? I've been doing the podcast for almost 5 years. And I pay to do this podcast. I pay the service that hosts it and puts it out there into the world. Because it does get a pretty good amount of downloads. And because I do try to do it once a week. So I was like, why not do a couple ads? It's not gonna hurt anything. So I fucking got a bunch of you guys, got double the amount of I have double the amount of downloads required to start doing advertising. I got way more than double the surveys filled out required. Sent it to the people. Kept trying to get back with them about the advertising, and they never fucking got back to me. So a homie of mine, many people recommended that I get a Patreon page, which I believe is patreon.com/bigwax. Check it out if you want to be a sponsor of the podcast. Like I said last week, if you do the top tier, the $5 tier before July. I think before July. I don't. You'll be in there'll be a thank you section on my album with your name on it. I know that's a lot to ask. That's why there's a prize that comes along with it. It's way too much to ask for this fucking podcast. Way too fucking much. But you don't have to. You know what I mean? That was what my friend and roommate Davey told me when I got a couple emails saying like, "Damn, man, that's a lot." He was like, dude, don't feel bad. They don't have to fucking do it. It's voluntary. I could have a button on there, $1,000 fucking dollars. You don't have to do it. Yeah, so I had the Patreon. And then I got something great. We also have Ghost in the Pines, a.k.a. Marion, has the Texas Road Stand down there in Cedar Creek, Texas, near Austin, which is the official restaurant of Wax's podcast. So we got a restaurant, got a Patreon, and now my homie, Chris M., who's one of the most loyal podcast listeners and Wax fans that there is, he tries to help me out at every turn of every step of my website, my podcast. He's constantly trying to help me out. And I think this time he did a really awesome thing for me. Because Chris works for Tsunami Premium Vapor. Tsunami is spelled Tsunami, by the way, if you don't know how to spell tsunami. It is a strange word with the silent T at the beginning. Unless you pronounce the T. You're welcome to pronounce the T. Tsunami. I would say that any silent letter, it's like, who's to tell you that you can't pronounce it? Pronounce it if you want. My brother's name is Chris. I'll call him Tris. That's weird that CH becomes a T when it's before an R. Isn't that fucking amazing how the human mouth works? Anyway, Chris M. works for Tsunami Premium Vapor. Let me pull up this website. It's tsunamipremiumvapor.com. And shit is fucking dope, especially for any guys who either vape or partake in the old, I'm not even going to say it by name. My mom listens to this podcast. But you know what I'm talking about. It rhymes with Crera Crana. Yeah, it's awesome if you go to their products, like they got fucking glass water pipes. Glass water pipes is such a funny word when they feel like they can't say bongs. But yeah, this shit looks dope. It's all scientific looking. Then they got grinders. They got vaporize. They got several different kinds of vaporizers, including the Typhoon. I'm looking at the Typhoon right now. But really excited about this. My boy Chris, who works for this company, he does their website. He says that he made their website really fast, and then he said in a letter to me, then I created a special coupon code for you to tell the podcast listeners. The coupon code is WAX. That's just WAX. But I can change this to anything you want. I think it is actually a perfect coupon code, Chris, because not only is my name Wax, but wax is something that you probably inhale out of some of these things. But anyone who uses this code will get 10% off their order, and you will earn 10% of all orders placed using your coupon code. So correct me if I'm wrong, beatsforwax@gmail.com. Correct me if I'm wrong via email, but I'm pretty sure that everybody wins here. Chris M wins because the people that own the company, if they see that he brings them business, they will be happy. The company wins because people that listen to Wax's podcast will be spending their money at tsunamivapor.com buying these products. You win because if you use the coupon code WAX, you'll get 10% off. And some of this shit, like, it's pretty pricey, so you can end up with some big savings. And of course, I win because I get a kickback from anytime anybody uses the coupon code. And I feel like everything is so symbiotic sometimes. The universe sends everything it sends everything to you at the right time sometimes. Because right when I got the day before I saw this from Chris, I got it. I finally, since February, I finally got an email from the people, those advertising people I mentioned previously, and there was this website, this fucking dumbass website. Dumbass website. Got an email from this website like, we need to know by tonight if you're willing to read a blah, blah, blah in our... Didn't even have any details on, like, any of the financial shit, what I would get, which I'm sure would be fucking small. They're like, we need... And it was all pushy. The email was pushy. We must know by tonight if you're willing to participate. I was like, whoa. Whoa. What I once desired. What I once desired, I no longer do. I once practically got down on my knees and did you a favor to try to get advertising on my podcast. But now, through the miracle of social media, through the miracle of just being in touch with your fans and creating a friend and family atmosphere, environment, I'm in a much better place. I'm in a much better place. I got people supporting me because they like the podcast. They like to listen to the podcast at work via my Patreon. I got a way doper thing to talk about as far as trying to sell you something. Literally doper. I got something way doper to sell you than this fucking dumb website that was pushy with me. It didn't even tell me anything about fucking I'm over here begging, getting you guys to fill out surveys. I feel like an asshole. You fill out my survey? Hi, this is fucking Survey McGurvey. Let me ask you some questions. A, gender. B, age. C, race. 3, fuck you! Why the fuck would I tell you to give somebody your personal information like that? I feel like I really betrayed your trust. And I also betrayed my own interests. If I would have really just thought about the way this podcast works. I fucking get on here and talk a lot. You guys listen to it. It's not rocket science. Got a lot of people out there that do a lot of different things. I'm better off making partnerships with y'all than with some corporate devil, right? Better off making my own partnerships. I already pay the corporate devil for the service. And I gotta get down on my knees and do sexual favors to them. Email them all the time, wait for months and months and months, and they come back with some pushy bullshit. Sounds like a toxic relationship with a female, you know? It sounds like a relationship many of us has been in the past, especially the dude who I talked who was it that I was talking to? Somebody emailed me that on the podcast. Probably Nick Shea. Nick Shea probably was in a relationship like that. Somebody I know was recently in a relationship like that. I've been in a relationship like that. Begging and begging. They give you one fucking pushy bullshit text thinking you're going to fucking get on your knees and beg. Well, I got news for you. Shelly. I got news for you. Tiffany. I got a little bit of information for you. Beth. I'm not doing it. Instead of that, what do they say? Bros before hoes, you know what I mean? And this is all a metaphor, by the way, ladies. This is a metaphor. Could be if I was a woman, I'd say my girls before whoever these dudes are, whatever the fuck. That didn't sound nearly as bad as bros before hoes. But anyway, my point is, friends and family come before corporate interest bullshit. And friends and family, I mean the listeners. I mean Chris M. I mean everybody that's supporting the Patreon. People that are buying the merchandise off the garage sale. It's a beautiful thing. I don't need, I run a small business. I had this thought the other day. As anybody that listens to the podcast know, I'm a big supporter of yoga. Still feel funny saying that. I'm a very big supporter of doing synchronized, goofy cheerleader poses with middle-aged women in Sherman Oaks. Very big supporter. It makes me very happy, very joyous. But at the end of my yoga class, one of my classes last week, the teacher, everybody's about to leave, and this often happens. Any of you guys that have been to yoga class what's another example of something like this? You go to, I don't know, if you go to some kind of fucking, maybe at a farmer's market, buying cookies that somebody baked, somebody makes their own fucking wine. At the end of the transaction, they might hand you a business card. They might get you to sign up for their email list. At the end of this yoga class, everybody sits up after doing the final resting pose. And she's like, my name's blah, blah, blah. If I haven't met you before, don't be afraid to come up and say hi. I have an email list if you want to know about stuff I got going on in the near future. I got this workshop. We're going on a yoga retreat, blah, 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 this weekend, July, whatever. And that's her running her business. That's her running her business. Now, granted, the biggest yoga guru in the world that does seminars in front of 10,000 people is not running their business like that. just like Kendrick Lamar is not shipping out T-shirts from his house. And of course, sometimes you might wish that you were Kendrick Lamar. Sometimes you wish you weren't shipping T-shirts out of your house. Sometimes that yoga teacher wishes that she was on Yoga TV with the #1 rated show about downward dog. I'm sure she wishes that every night in her sleep. She says, I wish that I had the #1 rated show on Yoga TV, if that even exists. You know what? I want to start Yoga TV. I want to be the person who first starts Yoga TV and creates the first show on Yoga TV, which is downwarddog.net. I don't know why it has a website name, but it's a TV show. as the #1 show in the world. It's bigger than Oprah now, and I host it, and I create, produce, direct, and write it. I'm sure she thinks that all the time. But I don't know. I get a lot of shit out of yoga, and even that wasn't even during the class. That was after the class. I want to run my business just like she runs hers. Yeah, it's a lot of hands-on. Yeah, it requires a lot, but it's very satisfying. Running your own business, especially compared to fucking working for the man like I used to. I used to be miserable at work, man. But right now, I'm quite happy. I got this podcast listeners. I'm doing like one of those things where you count it on your fingers for no reason. There's no reason to add anything up. But one, I got the podcast listenership base supporting me through Patreon, through Chris M's Tsunami Premium Vapor Company. By the way, tsunamipremiumvapor.com. The code is WAX. Get 10% off. Everybody wins. Remember what I said? Everybody wins. See, that's one of Wax's podcast many new slogans, by the way. Everybody wins on Wax's podcast. What slogans have I had before? The podcast comes first. It has been coming first recently, though. You guys might notice the consistency is getting a lot better, I'd say. The podcast comes first. Everybody wins on Wax's podcast. There was another one recently. Fuck. Can't remember. But I have that. I'm doing my Acoustic Monday series right in my goddamn backyard. I'm recording my next album in my relatively state-of-the-art home studio. Relatively state-of-the-art. I'm shipping merchandise at the garage. Out the garage. I say it's an online garage sale. It's literally that. I have merchandise in my garage. People are buying it. And I have a fucking awesome house in a place where the weather's always nice. I have a backyard. I cook my food on my grill most days. Almost every day. I cook my dinner on my grill, which is in my backyard. And I think that I guess there's a couple things I don't have. I've always pictured. First of all, I would own the house. I'm talking about living the dream. I'm like, am I living the dream yet? And I'm not, because I don't own this house. In the dream, I would own the house, and also the studio would be soundproof with a drum set. I would be able to play a drum set 24 hours a day. Anytime I wanted to, I could sit down on the drum set, play as loud as I can without zero chances of complaints, with zero chance of neighborly complaints. I do not have that yet. That's the further goal. I own the house. I can play the drum set. Besides that, there's really nothing else. I guess kids. I think in a few years I'll be more into thinking about that. But for right now, I want a fucking drum set. Those are my priorities. First drum set, then kids. Because the kids are going to need a drum set to play. Right? And, I love music, but a 3-4-year-old kid playing the drums, it's going to be a lot on the ears. So I'm going to need that room to be soundproofed. So I'm still lacking some of those things, but my life is full of abundance right now. I recently received a email from somebody with a lot of depression, and I've been there. I don't think that I know for a fact. I don't know for a fact. I'm not a goddamn scientist. But I'm not a person that has a chemical depression. I don't have like a chemical imbalance in my brain that makes me depressed, because those people have no way of fixing it besides drugs, as far as from what I've heard. But I can tell you that, you can get out of the hole. You can get out of that depression hole. What you got to do, first of all, is drink a lot less alcohol. Shit is a depressant. Drink less alcohol. B, do some physical activity. It's very, very hard. It's extremely hard to get up and do that when you're fucking feeling shitty. It's hard to do anything. It's hard to get out of bed. But you got to somehow make yourself do it, even if it's only for 10 minutes. And C, do something meditative. Probably the best way to start is to actually meditate. Go to YouTube, type in guided meditation. Find the shortest one they got. There's one where there's like a British guy talking over waves. Shit changed my life. Just got to clear your fucking mind. It's all your brain playing games. It all stems from cavemen days. The reason you're anxious, the reason you're depressed, strangely enough, is because lions aren't chasing you. Your anxiety is meant as a tool. You're supposed to be anxious because you're supposed to have shit coming at you. It's a survival reflex. And when we just sit here and don't have anything like that, our anxiety builds and builds and has no way to release. And I think it becomes depression. You have all these thoughts and all this fucking nervousness going through your head. Gotta get away from that shit. I don't know how I got into talking about that. Just trying to help you guys out because I feel good. Feel happy. Feel nice. There might be other stuff going on in my life that's making me happy too. But where am I at here? Yeah, I guess that's most of the stuff I want to talk about. I don't even know if any of that stuff is what I wanted to talk about, but I did. Because you just got to be in the moment when you do a podcast. One of these days, I'm going to make some slight improvements to my podcast. I don't want it to sound like a fucking goofy morning radio show or anything, but if there was like a segment, if every week I had a segment where I talked to somebody else, even if it was just for 5 minutes, might be a cool way to break up the podcast and add some more interesting stuff. It's had a segment like when I used to talk to people on the phone. But you know what? I'm not doing that until somebody else is helping me. I'm not being a podcast producer and trying to get guests and shit. Fuck that. This is still not my main thing. My main thing is the music, and I got to focus on that. And recently I've been real focused on it. Man, there's this one song I got that's so sick, dude. I got some pretty good new shit for this new album shaping up. So with all that said, let's get to some questions and shout outs, and let's see where the homie Nick Shea is at right now. All right. Let's see. Let's start. Okay, so I said start with the Chris M thing. I already talked about Chris M. Chris M from Michigan. TsunamiVapor.com. The coupon code is WAX, 10% off. Everybody wins. All right, where's the Nick Shea thing at? Nick Shea is right here. All right. If you don't remember, if this is the first time you're listening to Wax's podcast, we're doing a series right now where Nick Shea, the homie Nick Shea, not somebody I know personally, but a podcast listener from Boston. He's 20 years old, and he's riding his bicycle. He's taking a long-ass bicycle trip. He did like a GoFundMe for it. Got like $1,500, maybe $2,000 or something like that for this long bike trip. Going from Boston to New Orleans, and he's stopping in a bunch of different places. He's already been in New York. I think he's in Philly. Let's see. Let's just check in with him. This is what he wrote to me this week. What's up, Wax? Just got to Baltimore. Been having a rough time. Been on the road for 2 weeks and 4 days now. That's a long time, man. To answer your question from last week, the actual biking varies wherever I am. One day it was really fun and I wrote a song while biking. I'm excited to record it when I get back home. But other days it's torture. For the most part, I am on the side of highways and in industrial areas. And when I'm not there, I'm in the middle of nowhere in the suburbs. Plus, I'm carrying bags full of clothes and a tent and stuff, so it's like carrying in the groceries for 6 hours at a time. God damn. It's very straining and exhausting. I lost a bag full of stuff like a sleeping pad and a poncho and some tools somewhere in Delaware. I wasn't even mad because it's just less weight to carry. I have been miserable these past few days. I'm not doing this trip for sport. I know a lot of people who take this kind of trip to bike 1,000 miles in 4 days or something like that. At this point, I am exploring the country and my bike is with me. I've been getting fed up with riding so long in the middle of nowhere. I took a train from Wilmington, Delaware, my least favorite place of all time, to Baltimore. Wilmington, Delaware does suck. I have been thinking a lot of stopping this trip. I want to keep going until I feel ready to stop. The other day it hit me how meaningful and powerful doing this has been. I wanted to cry, it felt so good. I've learned so much about myself in these 2 weeks, it's crazy. It feels like it has been 2 months. In New York, I played music with complete strangers in the park for 2 hours. There were so many people around us dancing. We improvised everything and never stopped playing. I was on the cajon/drums. I ate so much good food. I went to see Late Night with Seth Meyers. I drew people in the park for an hour and made over $50. That's awesome. I did so much in New York, and I definitely think I want to move there and spend some more time there. I almost want to stop back there for another week before I head home. Philly wasn't that exciting to me. Getting there was depressing because there is no life. It's very boring. I got some pizza when I first got there, and I was you probably meant pissed. Pissed at how not as good as New York it was. Haha. I met a woman on Warm Showers who had a houseboat I slept on. The other nights I camped outside next to the Rocky Stairs. Wow. Pretty much right on them. No one said anything. When I camp, I go to sleep almost fearing what could happen. Yeah, that's a fucking logical fear. You're camping in fucking downtown Philadelphia. I take so many precautions to make sure my shit won't get stolen and that I am in a safe area that it feels that it feels stressful to sleep. I don't sleep good on these nights. I had to get a hotel 2 nights in a row. One night because a park ranger told me I should not camp because the area I was in was very dangerous. The other night because I was fed up. I was so pissed and hot and dirty and just needed a place to relax. The things that I've realized on this trip so far have been, I love New York and really think I could live there in the future, or at least spend a lot of time there. I like living in Boston and appreciate the great things I have going on there. I am much bigger than those negative things I talked about in my GoFundMe video. I don't remember exactly what you are referring to with that. Taking this trip has made me feel like I started living life that I want to have. I have started living the life that I want to have. I miss my friends and making beats and recording. I want to continue for a bit because I'm uncomfortable and this could be good. But I also don't want to force myself if it doesn't feel right. What do you think, man? Can you talk a bit about the trip you went on when you were my age? What did you do on that trip? What did you learn? Acoustic Mondays is great, man. Palmer Squares dropped their EP and you dropped Acoustic Mondays. Shit was Christmas. I haven't heard that EP yet. Go cop that, though. Palmer Squares, Napalm. Love those guys. Set the Mat, a.k.a. Terminal Knowledge and Acumental. I haven't listened to that EP yet, but I'm sure it's dope. I'm sure at the very least it's got some crazy bars on it. Any suggestions of things to do, places to go, things to eat while I am in Baltimore? Thanks for reading, Wax. Talk soon. Nick Shea. Let's start with Baltimore. Eat crabs. Drink Natty Boh. Go to Fells Point. Fells Point's a fun place to hang out. A lot of cool bars and shit there. I don't know if you're into bars. I mean, you're on a fucking bike and you're camping. I don't know. Here's my first thing that I'll say to you, Nick. You're gonna, and I've learned this not only from what he's talking about. When I was 20, I did a very similar trip to him, except I had a car. I had a minivan. Me and my brother used to share a minivan. There was 2 different times we shared 2 different minivans that we shared. This one was my parents' old minivan, and I drove across the country. It's gone for like a month, maybe a little more than a month. I went all the way across. I was 20. I lived in Maryland. It was the first time I ever went to the West Coast. Went to fucking San Diego. I stayed at a Navy base illegally. I snuck in and stayed in the fucking barracks with my homie. We went to Tijuana. Then I went up to San Francisco. I stayed in San Francisco for like a week. I really loved San Francisco. I was doing a lot of skateboarding on that trip. My thing on that trip was I went to a lot of different skate spots and skate parks. Then I went all back through. I stayed with a friend in Florida for a while. But what I will say, and I told you this on the email, Nick, like I imagine even fucking more so on a bike. But from touring, what you'll learn is that a lot of places are the fucking same. I mean, the outskirts of towns are the worst. Like most places in America like look like a strip mall. They all have the same. This is the end result of capitalism is not that there's all these small businesses. The end result of capitalism is that whether you're in the outskirts of Portland, Oregon, or the outskirts of Raleigh, Durham, you're eating at Panera Bread, Chipotle, right after you went shopping at Target. Then if you feel like eating a little bit better, you might go to Olive Garden or TGI Fridays. Even better, the Cheesecake Factory. Verizon Wireless might have a store there. Might see a Starbucks. My point is everything looks the same. And that's in the suburbs. And once you start talking about cities, there's a couple exceptions. I mean, I would argue that Philly's an exception in some ways, but New York City's an exception. San Francisco is an exception. New Orleans is an exception. Miami is an exception. But most cities, I love Baltimore. I'm from Maryland. My brother lived in Baltimore for years. I was in a band that played nothing but Baltimore venues. I've spent so much fucking time in Baltimore. But you got to kind of get, like, any city has cool shit if you get to know it. But if you're just traveling from city to city to city to city, especially once you start talking about Cleveland, Louisville, St. Louis, Baltimore, Richmond, it's gonna be like fucking Groundhog Day. It's gonna be the same. It just looks like a fucking city. Like there's gonna be a lot of shit that's dangerous in the city. There's gonna be a lot of the same kind of shit. It's gonna be blocks, a grid. And when I look back in my trip, with the exception of San Francisco, the things that I remember the most are the things that are more nature based. I went to the Grand Canyon on that trip. I want to go there again. That shit was very moving to me at the time when I was 20. When you're 20 is really and probably one of the reasons you're going on this trip is, when you're in high school age, you don't really know who you are yet. I remember specifically when I was 23, I was like, okay, I'm a man now. I know who I am. And that trip, the 20-year-old trip, played a big role in just like, you go by yourself. It's not surprising that a lot of these cultures, in indigenous cultures, you do these rituals where you become a man, and they're earlier than, they're like 15 or 16 then, but that's because their life expectancy is way shorter than ours. And you have to become a man. You probably become a father at 20, and they'd be like, damn, you haven't had kids yet if you're at 20 and don't have kids? But, at 15 or 16, they give you some peyote until you go in the fucking woods by yourself for a week or something like that, and you come out a man. And you're kind of doing like the first world version of that. It's very common for people to do something like this when they're around your age. But I don't think that, when you look at a map, I don't know if they have a different map for like bicycle trails and shit. I just assume maybe there was all these beautiful bike trails, but you said you're still usually on the side of a highway and in industrial parks. But when you look at a map, you're kind of like, okay, I'll go to Philly, then I'll go to Baltimore, then I'll go to DC, then I'll go to Richmond. But you really need a map. Maybe they make a map where it's more like, here's this fucking natural park, here's this beach side, blah, blah, blah. You're going to get a lot more out of doing nature stuff than doing city stuff. Don't get me wrong. You should do a lot of different shit in general, but that's kind of, from my experience, that's how I see it. And trust me, I've toured this country like fucking probably, I don't know how many times, 8, 10. So I know I've been to most cities. I recommend doing nature stuff. What else did you say? As far as just feel, I mean, if you've been gone for 2 weeks and 4 days, that's almost 20 days. I mean, that's a long time to be just out there camping and on your bike. I wouldn't beat myself up so much if I were you. I mean, if you're in downtown Philadelphia and you're camping by the Rocky Stairs because there's something in you that feels, I mean, you did get money from GoFundMe to stay in a hotel here and there. Don't beat yourself up about it. You don't want to be on the fucking. You don't want your mom to look at the newspaper tomorrow and be like, kid gets fucking killed outside of the fucking thing because he's camping on the Rocky Stair. Just stay in the goddamn hotel. This is yet another reason why you should be more into the nature side of shit. Who knows? Bad shit could happen anywhere. I shouldn't even put that into the air. But first of all, if 2 weeks and 4 days, of course you're feeling like you could give up and all that. But yeah, this is your whole trip is like a life metaphor. It's the uncomfortable times that you got to get through to make, quote unquote, make it. I was actually listening to an interview with Kevin Hart recently. And granted, he's like a little much with the like self-aggrandizing of how much of a strong person he is, but he's not lying. It comes off as a little conceited, but he's not lying. I mean, he is like he did a tour where he sold 600,000 concert tickets to see him. 600,000. It's never been done by any comedian ever. But the thing about Kevin Hart that a lot of people don't know is he's older than people think, and he's been doing it for longer than people think. Anybody who's fans of like the old school, like anybody fans of like old Patrice O'Neal shit, when you see him on Tough Crowd with Colin Quinn, Kevin Hart's there. Everybody's shitting on him. Everybody shits on the little guy. And his conceited soundingness is probably a little bit of a Napoleon complex and all that, but he really is I mean, don't get me wrong. Kevin Hart's a talented motherfucker. He's a beast. But he always talks about how much fucking shit you got to go through. Maybe you do got to get beat up by the Rocky Stairs. You know what I mean? God, how fucking metaphorical is that? They're getting beat up by the Rocky Stairs. Can't even climb to the top. But you got to go through the bullshit. I got a friend. I don't know if he'd want me to name him or not. He probably would. I don't know if he would want me to, but I had a friend. I have a friend. He's a recent friend, but he's a comedian. And he went on a TV show, and he bombed hard. He bombed really fucking hard. It's a big TV show, big national audience, and I did when I saw it, I just thought, if you got to get up, that's perfect. You need shit like that. You need to get your ass kicked and get up. That's kind of how life works, and in the entertainment business, especially, everything is stamina. I think it was Jimmy Iovine who said he's never met anybody in the music business that failed. He's only met people that gave up, which is kind of an interesting metaphor. I'm not saying that you have to apply any of this shit to your bike trip, Nick. But if you said you're going to New Orleans, go to fucking New Orleans, But if you start to feel physically ill and fucked up, I mean, you're damn near 3 weeks in and you're just on a bicycle. I wouldn't. It's not like you fucking quit after 2 days. You know what I mean? So don't. If you're feeling, I don't want to tell you should do something. I'm not in your shoes. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's better for you to stop doing something if it's fucking you up. So I guess that's what I got for you. What else am I? I'm thinking if I can ask you a question for next week. How was Baltimore? Just tell me that. How was Baltimore? Okay, shout outs this week. We only got a few shout outs. Jose C. Shout outs to my man Jose C. who works in Culver City and offered me a free burrito at his restaurant. And I'm gonna fucking take you up on that, Jose. I am gonna take you up on that next time I'm in Culver City. Cats don't understand that. I was raised. First of all, you eat all your food. Second of all, my dad was very thrifty. And like I've told people, like I can't pass by, like if not that I'm ever in Costco. Oh, I guess I was in Costco. My brother's a Costco member. But in Costco, they're always giving out free samples. You go to certain grocery stores, they're always giving out free samples. The mall food court, if it's a busy day in certain mall food courts, almost every place is giving out a free sample. I won't even get lunch. I'll just get one sample from every single place on a toothpick, and it'll add up to the same amount as a chicken sandwich. But I'm saying based on the values that were instilled in me by my father and mother, you finish your food. You don't spend more than you have to. So therefore, like I can't pass by a free sample without eating it. You could put a piece of dog shit on a toothpick and be like, free samples, dog shit. And I'd be like, free samples? And I would eat the dog shit. I'll eat anything that's served to me as a free sample. And Jose, when you offered me a free burrito, you think like, oh, I'm just going to hit you back and be like, oh, that's a nice gesture. Well, guess what, Jose? One day I'm going to come in there. You're going to see my face and be like, where the fuck is the free burrito? We got Puya from Iran. We got Ghost in the Pines, a.k.a. Marion, the one and only proprietor of the Texas Road Stand. The Texas Road Stand down there in Cedar Creek, Texas, right outside of Austin. I don't have the address right in front of me, but if you looked it up on Google, you have every fucking bit of information at your fingertips. I provided you enough to get the address. Still waiting for somebody from the podcast to tell, because this is what I'm saying is this is the official restaurant of Wax's podcast. Just like Wax's podcast. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere. Only true fans know about it. But you can order a podcast burger, and Marion will fucking brand it with the Wax logo. Shout out to the Texas Road Stand. Right. I followed them on Instagram, and today they're doing a special: $7.50 for a Coke, a fries, and an enormous burger. The burger just looks crazy. Looks amazing. It's very Texas-y. He said everything's big in Texas, and well, cheeseburgers are certainly included in that statement. We got Trevor R. We got Oleg from Poland, my man. And then we got Dumpster Dude 123. Dumpster Dude 123, all lowercase and no spaces, of course, just like the internet has fucking made us type and think. I don't know. All right. Now we're going to start with this email from Barbaric Eric. And I got to warn you up front, it's very heavy on the praise. Very heavy on the Wax praise. I'm currently writing this almost in the summertime, and it's about to be midnight. Listening to Summer Breeze, of course, one of my favorite jams of yours, because of how packed it is with verses from everyone. I got introduced to through listening to your music and that beat. Forget about it. All one word like an Italian dude would say. Okay, forget about it. Cannot wait for the next episode of the podcast, and I'm excited for the Patreon thing. Ever since you first mentioned it, I was all for it. That's what's up. Thanks, Eric. I've never subscribed to any other podcast like that before, but for yours, I do not mind a single bit giving a few doubloons for some good-ass content. You're the only artist whose album I can listen to from start to finish and go along with every word in my head, hella vibing out. You help me out, man. I can't speak for other people, but your albums, to me, all mean something in many ways, and I'm thoroughly excited for your acoustic drops all summer long. Starts tomorrow, right? I'm pretty sure. Can't wait, man. Peace out, Barbaric Eric. And I know that email was full of praise, but I just want to let y'all know, feels good. Feels good that you quote unquote help people. And I'm feeling good about what I'm doing. I'm feeling in a good place. I figured I'd just read a praisey email from Barbaric Eric. Also, his name is Barbaric Eric, and I like saying Barbaric Eric. All right, let's get away from the positive and go to some negative. This one's from old school original listener, The Thrill as himself. The Thrill as himself. Got a lot of old school listeners today on this questions and comments section. Yo, long time day one listener and supporter. Back to your mentally endeavorous McGregor days. Wow. McGregor was a band I was in before I started my solo career. I think our shit's on Spotify, I think. Is our shit on Spotify? Our shit's on Spotify, right? I'm looking it up right now. Yeah. Oh, wow. Top result. If you type in MACGREGOR on Spotify, we're actually the top result. 2 of our albums, Scatterbrain and Beat Camp Tactics. Beat Camp Tactics from 2002. 15 years old now. 15 years old album. God, there's some good fucking shit on there. I ain't gonna lie, dude. It's a pretty solid album, to be honest with you. But anyway, you can check that out on Spotify. I have no fucking idea where the proceeds go. I don't know if my brother gets that or like our old saxophone player. I have no idea who gets the 0.01 cent when you listen. I know it ain't me. All right, couple thoughts. This is from the Thrillism as himself. I found this website that you might find interesting, and I did. WillRobotsTakeMyJob.com. Here are a few takeaways. You will happy to be know as a musician, you are only at a 7.4% risk of your job being taken by a robot. On the other hand, the Mike T, the multi-currency man, is fucked. There is a 98% chance that he will be replaced by a robot. I mean, I'm surprised he hasn't been yet. So there's some scientific proof that you're right. Because if it's on the internet, it's true. So there's that. That is all for now. Be well. The Thrill as himself. I thought that's pretty awesome. WillRobotsTakeMyJob.com. It's a real simple website. Go there and type in your job, and it gives you the percentage chance that a robot will take your job. And speaking of Mike T also sent a video of himself to me. Mike T sent a video of himself in his currency exchange booth. And he proved to me by pointing his fucking cell phone camera to his screen and going through some shit that he can hook people up. He has the ability. It's very surprising to me. You know, if you go to in the U.S. it would be at an airport, but I guess in a place like Britain where he's at, it might be useful to have this. He's in a booth in like a Walmart kind of place, you know, like a Target, like what I can't remember what the name of the place was, but the UK version of Target. Maybe they have Target over there. I don't fucking know. But he's in a booth there where, you know, say if you go in there with American dollars and you want to get pounds, he would exchange it for you. And he showed me with the screen. He actually does have a say in how much you would get. That's shocking to me. That would never happen in the U.S. If you went to a fucking a currency exchange booth at the Houston airport and tried to get a hookup, like as if like they can give you more money, just money. They can just give you more money than their fucking boss, whoever owns the money, says. That's unheard of. So maybe they're just nice over there. You're like, I like the cut of your jib. Anybody ever heard the phrase "cut of your jib"? I said that. Me and my boy AK were at a bar like a month ago, and I said to somebody that I like the cut of their jib. I like the cut of your. No. I said this dude. Somebody hooked him up. This dude we were with. Somebody hooked him up. The waitress, and I was like, maybe she just likes the cut of your jib. And they both looked at me like, what? What the fuck did you just say? And we asked around the restaurant. And nobody had ever heard the phrase "cut of your jib." And they all thought I was just a fucking idiot. But anyway, apparently Mike T, if I went in there and I had $1, he could be like, should I give this guy 80 cents worth of pounds or $1.20 worth of pounds? There's a limit to what he can do, but he can actually do that. So he was right. But I have a couple things to say about that. The first thing I have to say is this, Mike T. When he sent me a video where he had to show the screen. You know, it's just him in this booth, and you see in the background there's like the flower section of this Walmart or whatever it's in. And when he goes to the screen, he's like, "Oh, let me get out of that real quick." And he had to fucking X out of this fucking awful looking video game he was playing. It was like one of those like little addictive games. Kind of looks like almost looks like one of those weird slot machines. It's just like a line of fruit. If you drop one orange, it makes all the lemons disappear or something like that. Some dumbass game that people waste their time with at work. And it just made me think like a robot wouldn't be doing that. That's a human being that wastes time playing that fucking stupid shit. If I was your employer, first of all, if I was your employer, I'd immediately stop the policy of letting Mike T hook people up or not, just based on how he feels that day or how he feels about the person that's in front of him. His friend comes in there, and he just gives him great exchange rates. And then if he's racist or something like that, if whoever he's racist against comes in there, he gives them shitty exchange rates. What was this thing I was saying he looked like? He's got like orange hair. Mike T looks like he looks like if Conor McGregor had a really, really non-threatening like little brother that he used to beat up all the time. Looks like that. Like he looks like a mixture of Conor McGregor and Ed Sheeran, but either Conor McGregor or Ed Sheeran could clearly beat the fuck out of him, no problem, with one hand tied behind their back. That's what Mike T looks like. Anyway, if I was his employer and I saw this video, first of all, I'd be like, dude, you're not supposed to hook people up like that. You know who wouldn't do that? A robot. How about we also what are you doing playing these addictive dumb games? Robot wouldn't do that. You know what I'm going to do tomorrow? Google how to replace Mike T with a robot. That video was proof of why you not only can be replaced by a robot, but absolutely should be replaced by a robot. A robot will be 10 times more efficient than you, would save the company a lot of money because they wouldn't have to pay your salary, and they especially wouldn't have to pay for the extra money you're giving your friends via the currency rate. And they wouldn't have to worry about the robot wasting his time on internet games. Yeah, I'll get to your, okay, Mr. Japanese guy, I know you gave me some yen and want some euros, but let me make these limes. I'm trying to get a row of 4 limes so they fall down and break the blocks. Okay, so I'll be with you in a second. A robot would never do that stupid shit. Okay, that's all I got to say about you, Mike T. But it's all love, though. Mike T always makes sure that to know that it's all love. Okay, another old school listener, Brian the Trainer. Brian the Trainer sent me this funny video with this British comic talking about just getting the lyrics wrong in a song, and it actually was a really funny video, just dumb shit about lyrics that he thought were in a song but weren't. But after he sent me the videos, it says, have you ever noticed that any lyrics in a song that you see people routinely singing the wrong words? I think it could lead to some funny concert stories. Talk to you soon, Brian the Trainer. Well, I don't really know off the top of my head about people getting my lyrics wrong, although I've seen on pages like Rap Genius or just wherever people have typed out lyrics, or in the comment section, people will quote a lyric from the video above. I've seen a million times people have gotten the lyrics wrong. Some of the lyrics in my songs are kind of complicated too, so it's not surprising. But I will say, when I was a kid, my friend's older brother was a huge AC/DC fan. And AC/DC has a song that goes, dirty deeds and they're done dirt cheap. And I always thought it was dirty deeds and the Thunder Chief. I always thought that. And the Thunder Chief. And I just pictured because if you hear the song, you almost see it almost sounds like stereotypical Native American Indian, like the like the Florida Seminoles chant. It almost has that vibe for some reason to me, and it just sounded like this old fucking Indian chief doing a rain dance or something. I thought it was Dirty Deeds and the Thunder Chief. This is almost embarrassing. I might have admitted this on the podcast before, but this is almost embarrassing. I didn't realize until probably 10 years ago. I was a huge Wu-Tang fan, Wu-Tang Clan fan. Huge fan of Wu-Tang when I was younger. Still am. Still love Wu-Tang. But it's so dumb. I can't believe this is. It's so dumb I can't even believe it. But cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. Dollar dollar bill, y'all. When that song was popular, I fucking knew the song. I probably even now could sing the entire fucking song. But I didn't realize till 10 years ago that it just hit me one day. I swear to God, it hit me one day. I was like, wait a second. CREAM. It's an acronym. It's fucking spelled as an acronym. It's all capital letters with fucking periods. All I heard was that it was, cream. Cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. Dollar dollar bill, y'all. Cream as an acronym. I didn't realize till 10 years ago that cash rules everything around me was CREAM. So it's just shocking to myself that I didn't realize that. I remember thinking like, holy shit, I'm a pretty intelligent and clever dude, but every once in a while something just goes over your head. And that was one of those times. Like, you should notice it's not that they're not trying to hide it. They're not trying to be secretive and clever. It's right in front of your fucking face. Maybe that's why. Last thing I'll say about this fucking up the lyrics thing. I can't think of anything off the top of the dome where people have gotten my lyrics wrong, although it's happened a million times. But one of the funniest things to me when I do shows, and the last tour I did was a great example of it, because at the last tour I did, I was doing a lot of shit where, I was having a lot of fun with the audience on the last tour. I was jumping into the audience and having a lot of times I would have, if I saw somebody singing along, I would just put the mic in front of their face and have them sing along, and sometimes it went well. There's a video you can see on the Palmer Squares page. It's one of their promo videos. I don't know if it's still up, but we were in Seattle. God, I knew this kid's name for a while, but there was a kid who did like, he was rapping like, he did like this. I gave him the mic for the second verse of Two Wheels, and he rapped, like I let him rap for a while because he probably rapping it better than my ass was. And he just did an impeccable job of rapping that song. But usually, I would finish the show with my song New Crack, and I would always, not always, but most of the time I would kind of jump into the audience and have fun with people and let people just fuck around, you know what I mean? And you'd see somebody that knew every single fucking bar perfectly, but nine times out of 10, if you stick the mic in front of their face, they don't know anything. All of a sudden, when you put somebody on the spot, it's just fucking, people are just deer in the headlights. And as a performer, like, when you're doing 50 shows in a row, you kind of try to do things to keep yourself entertained, and that's definitely one of the things that does it. It's always fun to see it, because you kind of start in your head. You're like, I wonder if this guy's gonna fuck this up. That was I wonder if this guy's gonna fuck. There's a really strange pause there. All right, so we got Sun I. Wax, I'm sure you already talked about this, but I can't remember the answer. Do you do anything before performing to stay confident? And you have ever had the experience where your voice trembles and it's like you're going to cry, piss, shit, and puke yourself, have a heart attack, and pass out from nerves? Yeah, I have had that. I don't get that. I don't get that when I do like the last tour I was just talking about. I don't get that when I do rap shows anymore, because I've done it so many times and I kind of like know my songs. And when you're in front of a crowd of people that fucking paid to come see you, you there's one level of like, you're a little bit nervous because you're like, all right, I got to do a good show, man. Some of these people drove from far away and fucking had to get a babysitter and shit to come to this show, so this show's got to be tight. But at the same time, like, you come out at an advantage when people come to the show, are like, people like I just mentioned are already thinking when they're waiting in the line outside, they're like, this is gonna be awesome, this is gonna be great. So you really can only fuck it up. Like, if you just do a decent show and sing the songs and they can sing along and drink and whatever, they're gonna think it's great. So you're at a big advantage when you have fans in the audience. But I remember the first time I tried stand-up comedy, I had the experience that you're referring to. My voice is trembling. I feel like I'm hyperventilating, and I just couldn't. I didn't sound natural. It was very difficult, and I felt there was only 10 people there, and I just felt horrible. I just felt so fucking nervous and weird. And I think that's part of the reason why I kept trying to want to do stand-up comedy. Kind of like, if you're scared of heights, you should go skydiving or whatever the fuck. But yeah, yeah, I've definitely had that before. What else did you say? Sun I also said, do you call yourself Wax in your head? It's like I have the habit of talking to myself as Sun in my brain instead of my government name. Yeah, I often do call myself Wax in my head. Because most people I know call me Wax. Only a few people call me, like, people from my childhood call me Mike. My mom calls me Michael. But most people do call me Wax. That's just my nickname that sticks. And I often refer to myself as Wax too. All right, got one more. This is from Booch. Booch is kind of fucking with me throughout this email. Senor Jones, I'm at work this morning slaving away for the man in my soul-sucking cubicle when I received a phone call. Now, I don't like phone calls in the morning because my mornings are for me, my Pop-Tarts, coffee, and silent ponder of where I went wrong in life to end up here. Oh, shit. I know that feeling, man. God damn, I know that feeling. But this customer greets me and tells me his name is Mike Jones. I promptly stood on my desk and shouted, Mike Jones, abruptly followed by a boring. Needless to say, I'm no longer employed. I feel as though you had a hand in this by association, so I'm forewarning you, I'll be living on your couch for the unforeseeable future. I'm also into pooping with the door open, so heads up. On a serious note, though. Starting his next paragraph with, on a serious note, though, insinuates that what he was saying was obviously a made-up story. But I appreciate it. So many times, especially when the rapper Mike Jones was popular, so many times I would get that. I don't know if I told y'all this. When I first moved to L.A., I went to the Los Angeles Recording School. That's where I learned how to audio engineer. I knew a little bit of shit before I went to the school, but I never did any computer-based shit. This was in 2007. Me and my brother grew up having a 4-track, and I didn't really know anything about EQ or compression. I learned how to use Pro Tools at this school. This school really, like, without the school, I probably wouldn't be definitely wouldn't be where I am today. But it was also the thing that made me move to LA was like, I was like, all right, I got a fucking student loan and went to school, and I went to this fucking school. Now, of course, I'm probably one of the most successful people ever coming out of the school, but they don't have no idea of that. I should be on the goddamn cover of their recruiting magazine. Because nobody else in my fucking class, with the exception of my homie Morgan, nobody else in that class that I can think of still works in music. Why did I think of that? Oh. So this was around, I went to that school in 2007, and this was in the height of Mike Jones, the rapper's popularity. I think 2006 he was super popular. In 2007, everybody knew who Mike Jones was. And Mike Jones, if you don't know, not only did he have the same name as me, but he was mostly known for saying his own name really loud. And it would be followed by, who? Mike Jones! Who? So at this recording school, I went full time Monday through Friday, and so every class you'd have every day you'd have I think 2 classes, and the classes were 3 hours long. So they do an hour and a half, then they take a break, then they do another hour and a half, and they would call roll at the beginning of the class and after break to see if anybody left during the break. And this, it was a 9-month school, so if you do the math, there was a roll call 4 times a day. And every single time, when they called Mike Jones, the whole class would go, who? But around that time, anytime I had to show my ID, like if I went to fucking, if I had to show my ID to use a credit card, or if I was like buying alcohol or whatever, they would say something. A lot of people would say something about my name being Mike Jones. On a serious note, though, my lady and fellow podcast listener, Elizabeth G, has a birthday coming up. Ooh. What is a fail-safe present that you recommend? All I can come up with is some surprise butt stuff. That's funny, surprise. I thought about buying her one of your albums, but I want her to enjoy her birthday. Just kidding. Think you could shout her out a happy birthday? I think she'll be 42 or 29. I don't know. I don't listen when she talks. Thanks, Wax. Booch. Yeah, pretty funny guy there, Booch. As far as Elizabeth G's birthday, I don't really know, I don't know anything about Elizabeth G. I do know that there are some fail-safe presents for women, and men for that reason, but for women, I would recommend the following. One fail-safe present for a woman is flowers. That has to be like a side gift. Like you get a gift and then it's like, oh, plus I got you flowers. You can't be like, oh, I just got you flowers. You can do that. You can do that for your sister or your mom or your brother's wife or something like that for Mother's Day. Mother's Day, flowers is good for something like Mother's Day. But if it's your girlfriend and it's her birthday, flowers are like, before you give her the present, you give her the flowers to butter her up and just make her feel special. You know what I mean? But I think a good present for a girl is a gift certificate for a free massage. Because who doesn't like that shit? Who doesn't like massages? Who doesn't like being I mean, maybe there are some people that have like a weird thing about being touched. I don't know if Elizabeth G is like that. I mean, if you're doing surprise butt stuff, maybe she's not like that. But what else? What else is a good thing to get for any girl? Because I don't know what she's into. Think about the best thing to do. The best thing you can do for a girl's birthday, and this is much easier said than done, is every time you talk to her, notice what she says, and when she says something, like if you base your present on something she said, like if you give her a present and then she opens it and she's like, why would you give me this? You're like, 2 weeks ago when we were at Target, you told me that you really liked fucking whatever, so I figured that I'd get you this. It's the thought that counts. Is really a statement that is true. Really is the thought that counts. Because most gifts, regardless, are going to be some shit that fucking collect dust in a garage after a couple weeks, What else is something a full, she probably likes something like cheese or chocolate, some kind of like indulgence. Sometimes I just like to indulge. There's nothing women like more than indulging. Pampering themselves. And that could mean drinking wine, eating chocolate, eating cheese, getting a massage, getting a spa treatment, getting their nails and toes done, going to a nice restaurant. Nothing I like more than indulging. I just want to indulge. Did you check out my new perfume? It's called Indulgence. Indulgence would be, I'm sure this already exists, but Indulgence would be a good like high-end dessert shop name. But yeah, just think of that. Think of anything that you can indulge. Maybe go to Google and be like indulging on and see what it autofills. Get her that. Yeah, man. I guess that's about it for this week's episode of Wax's Podcast, episode 143. Kind of a feel-good episode of Wax's Podcast, I'd say. So on that note, especially you, Nick Shea, be safe out there.